and Kurt will start leading. And there's a lot of people new today in the room. There's new faces, so we'll do the introductions, go around the room and everyone give a brief introduction, who we are and what we do. I wish I could make this thing work. I'm useless. I don't think so. I'm regular.
You know, we're gonna already get going there, everyone. Call the meeting to order. So if we can go around and do introductions, that would be great.
Yes, everybody.
But that one should.
That one is, mine's on.
I will just
You're
hold this
good.
down and it'll kind of track voices. I think we're going. This chaos. The person showed us and have you lead, so. That's dangerous.
There's doubt in your mind.
What?
There's doubt in your mind when you show up.
No. Thank you, Kristen. That-
Yeah. Start.
Craig Jermaine, IT Director for Butte-Silver Bow County. Pete Stillman, Safety Manager, Montana Resources, the open pit, top of my right here.
Kelly Cosby, I'm Process Safety Management Site Lead at REC Silicon.
Dan Tosher, I'm Emergency Response Coordinator, REC Silicon.
Mike Stickney, Montana Bureau of Mines and Geology.
My name is Jenny Ellis. I'm the new FET coordinator with BSB Health Department.
Jim O'Neill, County Soup of Schools.
Karen Malakny, Health Officer, Butte-Silver Bow.
Jeremy Fliggy, Environmental Engineer at Montana Resources.
John Rolich, Environmental Health Manager for Butte-Silver Bow.
Jen Phillips, Emergency Manager, Safety and Industrial Hygienist at St. James. Here are you.
Jason Grimace, Director of Crisis and Emergency Management for Montana Tech.
Zach Osborne, Fire Chief. Ross Carlson, Jazz Coordinator, Butte-Silver Bow, Master.
Steve Shannon's, Duke Radio and Pleasure.
RC Cameron, Deputy Coroner.
Ken Hollis, Andrew County Coroner. Doug Conway, Butte-Silver Bow 911.
Jessica LaBrouse at BSB Emergency Management.
Zane Lisa, Butte-Silver Bow Public Works.
Hopefully out Northwestern Energy.
Max Rebels, Wildfire Public Information Manager with Northwestern Energy.
John Reese, Mayor Walker.
Kurt Markdollar with the Butte School District.
Introductions on the board. Kyle Caldwell's first.
Kyle Caldwell, Northwestern Energy Operations Planning Supervisor.
Just went on now.
That was kind of,
Kyle. Lane.
Eileen Steelman, environmental engineer with REC Silicon.
Jackie.
Jackie Matthews with Compassus Home Health.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I think that was me. I'm Jen Kitzmiller with the National Weather Service in Missoula.
Stephanie.
Hi, Steph Johnson, Public Library.
Jim Cambridge. We'll go to Jim Keenan, like we have some audio issues. Oh, Cambridge is there.
You got two Jim Ks,
Who Jim Case?
and there's one more there's one more that the guy's more important than the other, and it's Jim Keenan.
So introduce
Now, Jim
yourself.
Cavish, Chief of Staff, Butte-Silver Bow.
Thank you. Jim Keenan.
Jim Keenan, Water Plant Superintendent, Butte-Silver Bow.
Marissa.
This is Marissa Morgan at Montana Tech.
Nicole.
Nikki O'Connell with Montana Precision Products.
James. I don't know where he is.
We talked about he's on this screen over here, so you can skip him.
And yeah, I still don't know where he is. Jason Parrish.
Jason Parrish, Butte-Silver Bow IT Department and Public Information Officer.
Any other, Cinda. Sometimes Cindy goes to the chat. Oh. How about Justin Webster?
Good afternoon, Justin Webster, Montana DES, which is the administrator of the CERC.
Thank you. In fact, it's everyone, but now we're gonna skip a little bit in the agenda and go to Northwestern Energy talking.
Yeah, do it. Communication, we're skipping.
All right. I'll go ahead and make a quick introduction. Paul Dowd with Northwestern Energy. I manage our community relations. One of the things that we're taking very seriously is our wildfire mitigation. It's a real threat, not only to our company, but also different parts of Montana. I've got with me today, Max Rebholz, who's out of Missoula. We've just hired his position, so he's going to be really involved with LEPCs across the state. And turn over to Max so he can give you kind of a brief overview of what he's going to be doing.
Yeah, so my name is Max Rebholz, Wildfire Public Information Manager at Northwestern Energy. I'm out of Missoula, but I've been working across all Northwestern service territories. And my goal is to work with the LEPCs across the state of Montana and South Dakota and Nebraska. And eventually my goal would be to do a presentation at this meeting, a future one to describe what our wildfire mitigation strategies are and our public safety power shutoff plans are. But for today, I just wanted to put a face to the name. Also looking to coordinate with any of the fire safe councils across the different counties and find ways that we can leverage each other's messaging to get information to the public about how they can prepare for public safety power shutoffs and then bring awareness to what our wildfire mitigation strategies are. And the last plug I have is where Northwestern is hosting a wildfire summit, May 28th and 29th. It's in Helena at the Delta Colonial Hotel, and I can send information to Lisa for that. So May 28th, the first day of the summit, is really more of a utility-led workshop focused day. And then May 29th is a chance for external stakeholders and agencies to come together and kind of learn about what the impacts of PSPS are, how we can best coordinate with disaster and emergency services, understanding what information incident management teams need from utilities during wildfire incidents. So yeah, I encourage that attendance on day 2, May 29th, as that'll be more relevant for the people in this room, and at least I can send you that information. Yeah, with that, thank you, and looking forward to working with you all in the future.
We'd love to have you do a presentation here one day.
Excellent.
You can set that up.
Excellent.
Yeah, go back in the normal thing. They have to leave early, and so they just want to do their little introductions during the introductions. So we're a little out of sync.
I got OCD controlling. That's all right. So can we get a motion to approve the minutes from February 26th?
I will.
Second. We got a motion second. Any comments, changes, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Passes. Is there any public comment on any matter not on the agenda today? If not, we will go to our presentation. Stickney. After earthquake studies. I like when you talk all the time.
Me too. And we're, so.
And only one slide that I just wanted you.
Yeah, that's point, yeah, that works.
So, I work up at the Bureau of Mines and Geology up on campus, Montana Tech. Bureau of Mines and Geology functions as the state geological survey for the state. And is involved in geologic studies and groundwater. And my particular office runs the seismic monitoring network for the state. We've been at it for a long time, 45 years. And this past summer, we made one of the biggest additions to our seismic network that we made in that entire time. So I just like to give you a brief overview and mention a few other points. So next slide, please. We got a grant from the RDPG program through DNRC to add seismic stations to our network, and these are modern state-of-the-art stations. We selected sites to fill in gaps in our seismic monitoring around western Montana, and also upgrade a couple of existing stations. So this was one of our sites down in the southern Madison Valley. We got to work with some beautiful country. Next, please. We put the seismic sensors in below the ground. A piece of PVC laying on the ground there is 5 feet long, sealed, or the bottom is sealed. Dug a 5-foot hole with a shot back, if you can believe that. I didn't think that would ever work, but it did. And next slide. We then concrete that into the ground. We also plant a pole on which to mount solar panels, battery blocks, cell modem antennas, and a GPS antenna for receiving accurate time. Next slide, please. There's the station nearing the end of the day. We've got solar panels up. Next slide. Working, getting the rest of the antennas up there. Great help in the field. Next slide, please. So this is a station up near Boulder, just showing the top of the ball sticking out of the ground. Next to it is the actual sensor, which has 6 elements in it, 3 components. One set measures ground velocity, the other one measures ground acceleration. We drop that sensor down to the bottom of the hole. Next slide, please. And then fill it up with dry sand, so it's completely buried and insulated. Put a cap on top of that. Next slide. And so there's that station. At the end of the day, we didn't, at the time that we built this much of the site, we didn't actually have the sensors yet, so we had to go back and install them on a second trip. The next slide. So this is the finished site. Sensors over here under that mound of dirt, and fence it off to protect it from cattle and wildlife. And next slide. That's the instrument box, has batteries, data logger, basically all the electronics for the site. And weather was turned on, so we left in a hurry. Next slide, please. So this is a map showing those sensors. The black symbols were our existing network before this upgrade. The red symbols are the new stations we installed, We've got one up on the Blackfeet Reservation, west of Cut Bank, Whitefish. You can see filling in some gaps all the way down to the Idaho-Montana border. We have one site left down here in the Centennial Valley that we're still waiting on permit or permission to install, and we'll finish that up this summer. You'll notice there's both squares and triangles. The squares are the modern digital broadband seismic stations. The triangles are our older analog stations. Next slide, please. And this is why this slide illustrates why we like the modern broadband instruments. The top three channels are from those are the measuring ground velocity from a new sensor. The three brown traces, vertical, north, south, and east, west, are ground acceleration. Those, by measuring acceleration, it's not as sensitive as the velocity sensor, but it will stay on scale for the biggest possible earthquake. So you'll always, between these two sets of sensors, will always have on scale, high quality records. And the bottom blue trace is the adjacent analog site, the old analog sensor, which is one component, one vertical sensor. And you can see immediately when the energy from this magnitude 3.7 earthquake arrived, but then it's knocked off scale for the next 40 or 50 seconds. So all you get is the first arrival, whereas with the new instruments, you get a high fidelity recording in all three ground. Next slide. So this is what our network looks like. We, in addition to our own stations, we also in real time gather stations from Canada, Washington, Oregon, Eastern Oregon, throughout Idaho, Yellowstone Park, and other scattered locations. As I mentioned, about 54 of those stations are our own. So about a quarter out of the 200 plus that we record from the entire region. The blue triangles mark the older analog stations, most of which are in Montana. There's still a few left in Yellowstone Park. The squares, as I mentioned, are the modern digital instruments. And the inverted pink triangles, if you can make those out, those are something called raspberry shake seismographs. I'll say more about those in just a second. Slide, please. And so I took that map, threw a 30-kilometer buffer around each of those stations, and then those are the blue circles. The red dots are the entire earthquake catalog, something like 70,000 names going back to the 1980s. And what this shows is where we have reasonably good coverage of the seismically active area. And it also points out where there's still some gaps in our coverage, but it's much improved over what it was 12 months ago. Next slide, please. And I mentioned raspberry shakes. These are little home seismographs that you can buy for, I think they're $450 now. They're built by a company in Panama. They plug into your home internet, sit on your basement floor, and as soon as you plug them in, they send data out, and we have access to that data. So the Bureau of Mines and Geology has purchased about 30 of those stations and adopted them out to schools, fire stations, and homeowners who are interested. And most of those environments are fairly noisy as compared to our sites that are out in the hills away from civilization, but they still provide useful data for better locating earthquakes. Next slide, please. And this is a picture of the one that's running down in my basement. It's a little plastic box, yay big. Power plugs in over there, network cable over there, and it just runs. And so it's a inexpensive way to augment our network and also get some schools involved in earthquake education and fulfilling kind of an outreach goal. Next slide, please. And this is just an example of a magnitude 2.2 earthquake that was recorded up in Helena. The earthquake occurred right out by the airport in Helena. And this is a Raspberry Shake seismic station, you know, for a magnitude 2.2, showing a beautiful P arrival, the very first wiggle there, and then the later S arrival. So providing surprisingly good data for an inexpensive device. Next slide. So what do we do with all those stations? We've had our new network upgrade running for roughly 6 months now. So I just, here's 6 months of data that we've used for earthquakes that we've located using our network, something over 1,900 earthquakes. Biggest earthquake was over here in Idaho, near Sunbeam, Idaho, between Stanley and Chalice, magnitude 5.1, and January 27th, 2 days later, a 4.3 in Yellowstone. And then we've had 4 other earthquakes in the magnitude 3 range spread across western Montana, including this one here on the 1st of January that was centered right off the west end of the runway at the Helena Airport. So it was only a magnitude 3 earthquake, but there were over 280 people in the Helena Valley that felt or heard the boom. So it created a bit of a stir. And then, of course, the smaller events that mark out what's known as this is the northern part of the Intermountain Seismic Belt. This zone of activity continues down through Yellowstone on down to Salt Lake City, down the Wasatch Front to southern Utah. And then it has a branch that extends off through extreme southwest Montana into central Idaho. And so almost all of our earthquakes occur within that belt, but you'll notice there are a few exceptions. Next slide. So just zooming in around Butte, that same time frame. And this one also has red diamonds, shows the blasts that we recorded and located. And so these are the mines and quarries. And I'll just point out that Silver Bow County was the only county that we did not locate an epicenter in. Everybody around us had at least one, but we were seeing the blasts at MR. And so we know that if earthquakes were occurring here, we would certainly see them and locate them. Next slide. And I'll just briefly mention from last year, I don't know if there's been a lot of recent progress on this, but in cooperation with students at Montana Tech and MR, they did a drone flight and imaged the north wall of the Continental Pit, where the Continental Fault actually cuts through the mine there. And I think there was interest in trying to better delineate it and see what we can learn about this fault. Of course, the surface exposure has long since been mined away, which is usually where you get the information about very young, geologically young activity along the fault. But there's still such an incredible exposure there that there's opportunities for learning more about the movement history of that fault, which is right next door. And next slide. The new LiDAR data is out for Silver Bow County. I don't know if you're familiar with LiDAR. It's airplane based, laser pulsing down millions of points and measuring the reflections off the Earth's surface. And from that, incredibly getting a very precise 3-dimensional model of the ground surface. And you can filter out the forest and the trees. And so it looks like an image of the Earth after the apocalyptic forest fire has burned every stick of vegetation and house off the landscape. And it's wonderful for identifying landslides, active faults, and other geologic phenomena. And the Continental Fault runs along base of the East Ridge. This oval right here, that's the Berkeley Pit. The Continental Pit is over here to the right. The tailings and pound back up behind. So this fault is just along the west side of our valley. There's another one down here, the Rocker Fault, that extends from down near Divide up along the east edge of the Divide Valley. And, the next slide just zooms in on a portion of I guess the good news is that, we did not see, or at least we haven't yet seen dramatic evidence of very young faulting here in our county. Next slide. And this is just zoomed in along the base of the East Ridge, and the arrows kind of point out the surface trace of the continental fault where the mountain block has been lifted up, the valley side has been brought down. Here's Interstate 90, just before it starts climbing up the pass. It's the base of the bedrock hill. So that's one place where we can clearly see the location of the fault, but the younger sediments that have been deposited across it are not offset in a fresh scar, which is the sign of a really young prehistoric earthquake. If that makes sense. From a geologist's point of view, that makes sense, but historic don't usually go together. So, next slide. Just about that. So I just a timeline going back to 1865 showing the magnitude 5 and larger earthquakes that have occurred in Montana. And we're sure that from 1900 on, we know about all of those earthquakes, and the magnitude scale is shown here in the vertical dimension. We had a big earthquake back in 1925 by Three Forks, 1935 in Helena, 47 down in the southern Bradley Range, and then of course the granddaddy of them all, the 1959 Hebgen Lake earthquake. But and the yellow area shows the time period for which we've been running the seismic monitoring program. And so we've had 3 earthquakes in the magnitude 5.2 to 5.8 range in the last 45 years. And in the 45 years before that, there were at least 20 over magnitude 5. There were, seven of them were magnitude 6 or greater. So we don't know whether we're in an earthquake drought now, or that time period from 1920 to 1960 was an earthquake flood. But we do know that we've had big earthquakes in the past, and from a geologist's point of view, they'll certainly occur in the future, but we can't predict when or where. And next slide. And I'll finish up with just mentioning that on May 8th and 9th up in Kalispell, the Bureau, the Geohazards Program of the Bureau of Mines and Geology is having its 4th annual workshop. And that we would, where we've invited lots of, well, the locals, the county, DES, school districts, utilities, and everybody you can think of to learn about and discuss geologic hazards and mitigation strategies. And everybody is welcome. There's no registration free, and there's 2 free lunches if you come for both days. So if you're in the Kalispell area, or know anybody up there who might be interested in participating, we'd love to have. We've got plenty of room. So I'll wrap up with that.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I guess I have a question about the raspberry seismic machines. Do they need to, notify anyone that they have them, or do they just show up on your map once they're plugged in?
They show up on the website once they're plugged in, and then I have to email Raspberry Shake Central and say, can we get you to feed us the data from that news station? So yeah, it's very easy process.
Anybody else have any questions?
I see that, but it looks like you're putting these in some remote areas, right, where you're installing these.
Our regular network, yes.
Do you have any issues with like people messing with them?
We've been very fortunate. We've only had one case of severe vandalism where somebody just tore it out by the roots and threw it off the top of the mountain. And it was in the most remote site. It was 28 miles in on a primitive road. I couldn't believe that anybody found it, let alone that they trashed it. But other than that, we put a sign on it that says what it is and who they can contact for information. But we've been extremely fortunate to have very low rate of vandalism.
Any maintenance issues that you have to continue to go up and take care of these things?
The batteries will probably run for 10 years on these new systems. But yeah, there are, especially with our older stations, we have maintenance issues. And so there is, but maybe a site visit once every 3 to 5 years.
So how many people are in your group that go out and maintain these? You.
What happens in 5 years, 10 years now?
There will be a job. Advertising the position for somebody who wants to take it on.
The other thing I noticed when you were looking at the open pit mine, I felt a little concerned that the fault was exposed. You seem to be excited. Would you encourage open pit mining?
Well, it's certainly an economic benefit for our community and it's part of our history. And I think it's being done in a pretty responsible way. And so far it hasn't caused any problems seismologically speaking.
That's what I was curious about.
Yeah.
If opening that up makes it better, makes it worse.
I don't know that it has any effect on it. You can see from, I mean, we see lots and lots of little earthquakes, even just over the divide in the Jefferson Valley and down by Dillon and Twin Bridges that we don't see here in this valley. So from best of my knowledge, it's not affecting, we're just outside the western edge of this intermountain seismic belt. And haven't seen any problems so far.
It was interesting that you had no earthquakes when they're all around. I don't understand how we could have any little.
Yeah, we're good.
I know you do.
You're right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good job. All right. We're on project updates and reports. Hazmat. So you're up.
There was nothing until yesterday. Yesterday, there was a fuel truck that showed up to deliver fuel to the Cenex up on, the corner of Park and Excel, and it overfilled their tank, their storage tank. It did one down the street, about 1 block, and it went to the storm drain, so therefore DEQ and Fitzwallow Parks are gonna be notified. Fire department responded, stopped it, from, going further and called Metro. Metro was pumping it. I stopped and I asked them, I said, are you adding a treatment or are you pumping it out of the storm sewer? And they said, we are pumping it out. So, we will get a letter by 3 to 4 days and then we'll watch over the course of, then cleaning it up. So, that's all for that. Next.
Perfect planning.
Oh, does anyone else have anything to say about hazmat, Jen?
No, we're just restarting the training. So we're gonna send our team back through awareness and ops level 1 and 2. And then as of right now, I think in Montana for the healthcare side, for Intermountain, the only certified trainer left. So I gotta go start training the other teams too. So I'm hoping to get some more trainers in the very near future.
All right, next slide. Oh, the news emergency alerts, yeah. We didn't have any emergency alerts since the last meeting and April IPAWS test was successful. Slide.
Hi, everyone.
I'll just say one thing about the planning on the agenda. I missed the slide. I just threw this together so fast, so.
You're good.
Work with us and poor Jessica had to deal with it last second. But we already went over the hazard mitigation plan and tonight I present to council, so keep me in your thoughts. Public speaking. All right, Jennifer from National Weather Service, Marty retired, and Jen has offered to give us an update for weather. Can we switch it to see her? She has her camera on. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, hi, everyone. And If you don't mind, I could share my screen. I do have just a couple things to show you, if that works.
That would be great.
Looks like it's gonna let me do it. So yeah, as was mentioned, Marty retired, our long-term warning coordination meteorologist. And so there's a group of us here in the office that are going to be working with the individual counties. Travis Booth is actually going to be the main contact for Silver Bow County, but he is on a day off today, so he asked me to fill in for you guys. I know the last time that Marty talked to you, I believe it was in February, we were still very much in winter. We've made that switch here as we've gone through March and into the first part of April. And I'll just show you quickly kind of how things have trended. This is the average temperature departure from normal for March. And so you'll see this kind of bright red area. This includes Silver Bow County. And March actually was quite warm, anywhere from 3 to 6 degrees above normal for this time of year. If we look at precipitation, we are kind of falling into this 90 to 110% of normal. So we had a fairly normal month of March as far as precipitation goes. We did have La Nina in place. La Nina has slowly faded away, and we're now in what we call ENSO neutral conditions, and that's expected to continue for the spring and into the summer. Looking at snowpack and the snow water equivalent, in Silver Bow County and the general vicinity, we're still sitting at about 100% of normal for the amount of moisture that's in the snow. So especially when you look up towards like 7,000 feet and above, we still have a pretty healthy snowpack out there. However, going back to our precipitation maps, despite the normal March we've had, if we look at the water year in terms of how much precipitation has fallen, we're only at about 50 to 70% of normal across southwest Montana. So that's from October 1st through the end of March. So we caught up a little bit in March, but overall we're still well below where we should be. So that is leading us to drought conditions across much of western Montana. Silver Bow County here is highlighted in green, is mainly just in what we're calling moderate drought. But as you look not too far to our north across portions of Powell, Missoula, and Granite counties, we have an area of extreme drought going on due to that overall dry water year. And really, that's a continuation from the previous year as well. So that's really being exacerbated. I guess with that in place, when we look at water levels and stream levels, everything is running. I believe I have that here. You can see these oranges and red colors. That is showing water levels running below normal to well below normal for this time of year. So despite the snowpack that's out there still yet to melt, with the fact that the water levels are running low, at this point, given the current ongoing conditions, we're not really expecting a big flood season moving forward. Of course, there's always a chance that we could get a big rain event or something come up, but as of now, it looks somewhat unlikely that we would have a big flood season with how below normal everything's running. Just a quick peek moving into the longer term. For the May outlook, we are looking at temperatures starting to trend towards above normal with below normal chances for precipitation. And if we really look out into the summer, a lot of these years where we've transitioned from La Nina into neutral conditions, we do tend to have a warmer, drier type summer. So where that leads for fire season, that's still out there a little ways, but there are these trends that are starting to show up that we could be going towards a warmer than normal and drier than normal summer. So I'll leave it there, but if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you. It doesn't look like you have any questions, but I appreciate the presentation.
Absolutely.
What's on the next slide? Surprise all of us. Next slide. James.
No brains, all right. So, we had, some good training last 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago from the battery IQ. We do have some extra booklets if anybody wants them. There were, different options, so I took the one on Tuesday night with, some of the volunteer firemen, and it was very informative. Just being extremely careful with, electronic or, electric vehicles. And so then we do have some more training coming up here. I printed these out for you guys for you to take. The list of trainings that are around the state. Some of them do require prerequisites and some of them are industry specific. So if you have any questions about a specific training, reach out to the provider directly. I know Lisa and I are going to the one in a couple of weeks down in Fort Harrison. But if you guys want any of your trainings from your organization added to this monthly communication, please reach out to me. We're always looking for ways to partner and to keep informed. That goes about it. Oh, and then Montana Safety Culture Fest is in Billings this year. It's a free 3-day training. They also have the OSHA 10 courses here or there. So that's through the Department of Labor. If you guys have any questions about that, you can reach out to me. Did I miss any?
No, I was just gonna say the battery IQ class was very good. It was a good opportunity for career fire and volunteers and other emergency responders from different industries to get together. I don't know if Zach has anything he wants to add. I don't know if Zach is.
No, I think it was a good class.
Yeah.
Had pretty good attendance and got a lot out of it, so. Thank you guys for organizing that.
Okay, next slide. Okay.
We already did the one before, right?
Yep,
Yes.
yeah. So now it's for United Health Man, the public health in the hospital. Do you have any updates? Jen?
Just to tack onto the training, so on April 2nd, we did team training, which is trauma evaluation and management training. It's through St. Pat's and we did it with DPHHS, and I have to tell you, they complimented our jurisdiction. We had a phenomenal turnout, not only with our trauma team and emergency response teams, but we had a great turnout from, thank you for your team. Fire department, we had a huge showing along with A1 ambulance, and so we went through what it looks like for when we're looking at traumas, going into a mass casualty situation. And then we did a tabletop exercise and a couple of real life sort of scenarios that we've actually been seeing in the state when it comes to some car wrecks, et cetera, on our interstates, what that looks like on the trauma side. And when these guys are responding to the scene. So that training was phenomenal. And then last week we had the CHECK class, which is the Certified Healthcare Emergency Management course. So we had that with the state and the coalitions across Western and Central Montana. And this week they're in Billings. So that course was one of the last ones that will be paying NeedleSEF to come and train. So we have gotten permission from Colin Tobin from DPHHS to actually bring these courses in to the state. So myself, Jason Mahoney and Todd Opp are gonna be your guys' new state trainers through Sim Montana. So we all got recertified last week, and then we will also in the future be the instructors for basic disaster life support, advanced disaster life support, and then we're looking at burn classes. So those are classes we bring in with the trauma team, EMS across the jurisdiction, and our paramedics. So we're working on that, and as of right now, I think we got about $45,000 in grant money towards that to bring that to the state, and then we can offer the classes more, which is huge for our state. So we'll be working on that through the rest of the year with the NeedleSEF to get that certified, and that comes through St. Augustine out of Atlanta. That's where they get certified. So we're working on that. That will save us some money in the grants. And then on May 15th, we have our coalitions come together, and I will get what the training is because I can't remember a lot to the minutes, but we'll be going back to Missoula for training too.
If you hear of any trainings, like we have some new deputy coroners out there, and he was looking for some mass casualty or mass fatality trainings. I have some feelers out there to see if there's anything local, but even with your grant money, if you're trying to plan what to bring in, if you can think about maybe doing something along those lines that would enable them not to have to travel.
Yeah, so I'll get together with you guys. I'm looking to
I'll get you the dates for me. Yeah, so for public health, a quick update on measles. You probably have heard that, Bozeman has 5 confirmed cases of measles. The good part about the cases in Bozeman is they were all, the 5 cases are all related, and it's related to travel. They are in unvaccinated or unknown vaccination status. When we'll really start to worry is if there is just another case of measles that just has no connection to these 5 individuals. And we can't trace it back to any travel, or it's just a sporadic case that's not connected back to anybody. So right now, these 5 individuals are isolating at home, and you're infectious 4 days prior to a rash onset and 4 days during a rash. So for eight days. Problem is, it's really hard to contact trace because that virus lasts in the air for up to 2 hours. So for public spaces, so when you're infectious, so you go to say a business, that business is literally infectious for any person who walks into that business for 2 hours. So contact tracing is a little bit different than it was for COVID or for pertussis. It just looks a little bit unlike what we've had to deal with before. We've seen cases of measles throughout the United States forever, but not, it's never taken a foothold like it has now. So we'll just have to keep watching it and see where it goes from here. So I call it the unintended consequence of COVID, because people stopped getting vaccinated and stopped really paying attention to their vaccines and keeping up to date on them. So our response will only be as good as our vaccination rates.
It's the vaccination rates.
So,
Thank you. I didn't do a slide for sheltering, but I'll just say 2 things. The generator at the Civic Center is up and going, so that doesn't necessarily make it a, shelter. Like it doesn't meet all of the requirements of a shelter. Hopefully, the EPA grant that they have with the community change grant gets out of being paused, and we go forward with this new facility that will be very modular and be able to adapt to a lot of situations. It could be a community rec center, but it also could be a clean air shelter. It could be a warming shelter, a cooling shelter. It could really function. So hopefully that gets pushed forward. Then we do have one other business, Jason Grimace from the school system, Montana Tech.
Thank you. My name is Jason Grimace, the Director of Crisis Emergency Management for Montana Tech. In addition to that, I also represent Helena College up in Helena, and then Western down in Dillon with the same title. So I got 3 schools that I'm representing. I'm also embedded in the LEPC meetings in all 3 jurisdictions. I've got to say, by far, this is the largest LEPC meeting, or largest attended membership LEPC that I've attended in the 3 jurisdictions. So kudos to whoever's been building this. I just wanted to let everybody, 27-year-long law enforcement, retired cop out of Helena, retired as the undersheriff, and hands out to you guys that meet monthly, respond to emergencies and support emergency responders. So what I'm here to just say is thank you. Montana Tech is supposed to have a first responders appreciation luncheon for a select few, because we can't feed everybody, but they give me some room to invite between 20 and 25 people. So I've made contacts that are taking my call. So there's going to be representatives from the fire department, law enforcement agency, highway patrol, Western Energy, A1 ambulance is the medical service down here in Silver Bow County. Hopefully I didn't miss anybody. Oh, DES, of course, to have a representation there. And all we're asking from those entities is, first off, to recognize their abilities to run towards the side of danger while everybody else is running away. And then just kind of tell us a little bit about what their mission and responsibilities are during an emergency, and then how do they jointly join in if there's a large large scale emergency when multiple agencies or entities are involved in an emergency and what that might look like on a campus like Montana Tech. So thank you for the opportunity, and I'm just really impressed with the size of this group. So, yeah, that's it.
I'm appreciative also of everyone showing up. Thank you very much. So the next meeting is gonna be May 28th. Is there anyone on the board who has anything that they'd like to add? Any other business comments?
Hearing none, I just need a motion to adjourn the meeting. So moved. Second?
Second.
Motion is second. All of in favor?
And if you didn't sign the sign-in sheet, if you're in the room, please sign the sign-in sheet before you leave. Oh, it's up here on the corner. Thank you.
For your, yes.